It is time for Wake Up the Echoes, Episode 3. I'm your host, Tony Simeone. This is the biggest episode yet because we are just days away from the Ohio State game. I cannot wait for Notre Dame to play against Ohio State. I've had this game circled on the calendar for over a year. I tried to get Marcus Freeman to admit that he has been looking ahead to this game. I don't think he budged, but I still pushed him on the topic. We also had a chance to talk to a couple linebackers who are in their fifth year, Marist Liufau and Jack Kiser. They would not give it away either if they've been looking ahead to this game, but I think I, along with all of you watching and listening at home, are so fired up. I'm ready to run through a wall for this Ohio State game. If you're going to be at the game, make sure you wear some green. It is going to be the green jersey game. It should be a spectacle for the first night game at Notre Dame Stadium this year. We talked to Kiser. We talked to Liufau. We talked to Freeman. At the end, you're going to hear from Notre Dame great Brady Quinn. We talked about all kinds of stuff as it relates to his career and how this Notre Dame team stacks up against Ohio State this season. It's absolutely our best episode yet. It's 1% better than it was last week, which is our only goal here on Wake Up the Echoes presented by TireRack.com. Before we get started, make sure you download and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever else you might listen to our podcasting content. And additionally, if you're watching, make sure to download and subscribe to the YouTube channel and smash the like button as well. Without further ado, let's get this week's episode started and talk with the head coach, Marcus Freeman. Okay, Coach, here we go. Episode 3. Have you gotten any feedback on how this show is going? Anybody talking to you about it, or is it just people telling me I gotta chill out a little bit with all these outfits?
I haven't really discussed it with anyone.
Okay.
I know a lot of people has been watching it, just talking to Katie and some of the people, but
no news is good news usually.
Yeah, these Saturdays, man, I got a lot of preparation for these Saturdays that I got to be focused on.
I see you got the green sweatshirt on.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This feels like a call to arms a little bit. Everyone, we want them in green on Saturday against Ohio State, right?
And I don't know if we're calling it a green out,
right?
But, we're obviously wearing our green jerseys. We want to see a lot of green in the stands. It's going to be what a great environment, right? To see all the green, just Notre Dame fans, passionate, our students. We got to get Obi out there. We might have to paint his chest green,
This guy has taken over the campus here in 48 hours, right?
Obi from Dunn Hall. That's what they told me. His name's Obi from Dunn Hall. But he's the rock star, man. He's the fan of the game, I said.
I wasn't in the stadium when it was happening, but when he was waving the shirt around, was it really as loud as everyone says?
Well, at first I didn't know what. I mean, I'm in game mode. I have my headset on, and then like a couple of times I kept hearing like the fans booing, and then they cheering and booing, and I'm like, finally I look up because it was a TV timeout, and I see Obi up there just swinging his shirt and dancing. I'm like, okay, I get it, man. And so that was a really cool, man, just at the end of the game, just to be able to see that, the crowd going crazy. It was a cool atmosphere.
I was looking at the broadcast at the end, and it said 5 straight games with 40 points, school record for Notre Dame. I don't need to tell you, but like you said, a school record at Notre Dame, you've done something right. Yeah. How exciting is that for you as the head coach to see the offense put up 40 in, let's call it this year, 4 straight to start the year? It's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah. Man, you get so, as a coach, you get so just dialed in on the details on every play that, there's always something to coach and learn from. But, sometimes when you pull back and look at it in a macro perspective, man, that's pretty special. And it shows the execution, but the preparation of work that the offensive staff and our players have put into doing that.
I wanted to follow up, too, about the guy we talked to last week, Chris Tyree. One of the things I mentioned is that I don't even think he's a running back converted to wide receiver. The catch over his head, I mean, it was a great throw by Sam, obviously, but that's not a running back making the catch. That's a receiver. Like, this guy, he just continues to amaze me at how good he is at receiver. When he made that catch, did you kind of jump back and say, I can't believe Chris made that play? Or what's your reaction when you see that?
No, I wasn't surprised. But as you go back and reflect, it's a credit to his work, right? It's you're proud of the way he prepares to make sure he's ready for that moment. That moment isn't just luck, right? You don't run a great route and just put your arms out and catch the ball. It's practice, it's repetitions, and that's what Sam and Chris have really done. And to see it really manifest in a game was really great to see.
This is a unique week because you're playing high-profile team. College game days here. I want to know about being the head coach. We've talked a little bit about messaging when we talk on this show, and I think that's the part of your job I'm most interested in. How have you messaged through the first 4 weeks, knowing that this game is lurking, but you can't look ahead to it? But I imagine people did look at the schedule before the season started and knew it was there. What have you been telling everybody to keep them in the moment?
It's going to be the same thing I tell them throughout the whole year, is that you get 12 guaranteed opportunities to play this game that we work so hard for. And our job on Saturday is to really get as close to our full potential that we can. The result of that is the result of it. You win, you lose, that's the result of a lot of different things. But our focus has to be, okay, on Saturday, we want to reach our full potential. So how do we do that, right? We got to make sure Saturday, one play at a time, we execute. We win the interval is what we call it. And then when you go from there, you say, okay, how do you win the interval? Well, it starts by staying in the moment today and preparing today and winning today and having very intentional practice reps and meetings. And so that will help us get to Saturday and perform on Saturday. So the minute our players, our coaches start thinking about Saturday, it's a great reminder to, okay, we know what's coming on Saturday. Let's get back into the moment of now to make sure that we can really perform as closest to our full potential on Saturday that we can.
How do you do that? Because I hear you can do it. You're the coach. You've got the perspective. You're coaching 19 to 22-year-olds that know college game day is coming here. They read stuff, they see stuff. So how do you're able to snap back in? How do you ensure that the players, to the best of their ability, can snap back in, or your staff can help them snap back in? What things do you put in place, or how do you communicate to ensure that can take place?
It takes reps. It takes time. And so we're preaching that same message from week one.
Okay.
Right. And so the ability to catch yourself drifting, the ability to catch yourself thinking about things that really don't matter at the moment, to me, is the great challenge. And so if we can catch ourselves drifting and get ourselves back, then all of a sudden we can be intentional, be in the moment, stay in the moment. And the other thing we got to do is we got to control some of that noise that distracts us from staying in the moment, right? There's distractions all over the place that take your mind to the outcome, to Saturday, to things that really don't matter. Takes you back to last year when you guys played Ohio State. All that matters is right now and what we're doing right now. And so I tell our players, control the noise, right? If you can't handle it, that noise gets you out of the moment, gets you out of what's really important, turn it down. Get off of social media. Maybe not answer a phone call. Focus on the present. And what I think that does, it takes off a lot of unnecessary pressure. When you think about winning or losing Saturday, that just adds all this pressure to you. When you think about, okay, all I got to do is stay in the moment right now and get better right now. Like, that's the pressure I got to put on myself.
Yeah.
We're going to have meetings here very soon. And you know what? We got to stay in the moment, have the greatest. All I'm challenging you to do is have the greatest meetings you can and stay present. And then as we get into Saturday, then it's going to be, hey, win the interval. It's not go beat Ohio State or go make sure at the end of the game we're winning. It's win the interval.
Yeah.
Win the interval. Win those 5 seconds.
You won a big game last year against Clemson. I'm curious just about, from your standpoint, year two, we've talked about being year two. Do you feel like this week, with everything going on around it, like you are better prepared to handle a big game like this?
Yeah, I think just because of experience, because of, again, I'm not this coach that's been coaching for 20 years, been a head coach, but I know I'm better because of the experience I've gone through up to this point. Yeah. And so I know next year I'll be better than I am right now. And that's always a challenge. Can we constantly improve and build skill? But I feel like I'm much more prepared just because of the experience of however many games I've coached in before now.
I look at a guy like Sam Hartman who came here. This is going to be an awesome experience for him. This is probably one of the big reasons he came here. Is there a little bit of extra excitement for him to go out there and quarterback this team on this stage?
You know what? Macro picture, yeah. Like, I'm excited for him to go out and play against some of the best players in the country.
Yeah.
But then I'm going to pull back to, how do you make sure you perform well? Is you have a great practice, right? And so when we think about Saturday, that's a great trigger for him to make sure I'm not worried about performing on Saturday. If I want to perform well on Saturday, I got to perform well today.
Yeah. I've been really excited about the defense. The linebacking core is super veteran. Secondary is going to get a great test this week. You're a defensive guy. We've talked so much about offense. On the defensive side of the ball, what have you liked through 4 games, and what do you encourage about showing up here this Saturday against Ohio State?
Yeah, man, those guys play hard. They play physical. They're running to the ball. They understand the details of what Coach Golden is asking them to do. And so, and some of the results have been really good, right? And I think we're 4 right now in total defense and 1 in pass efficiency defense. And so I make sure they know, man, they've done a heck of a job. And then there's always areas to improve at, right? We got to continue to eliminate penalties. We got to continue to tackle at a high level. And so, they've done a tremendous job.
Yeah.
Right. And they don't need to worry about getting credit. They're going to get credit from their head coach. I'll tell you that right now, because they, the way they prepare and the way they perform has been really, really good.
I wanted to ask you about penalties because it's been a little uncharacteristic last couple weeks of this team. Have you talked about it? Have you addressed it? How do you, it seems tough to me. You wanted to play fast and physical and you don't want to take penalties that kind of are tough to separate. What have you guys talked about after the last 2 weeks with some uncharacteristic penalties?
Yeah, it's just the understanding that the penalties that we've gotten have resulted in really negative things happening to our team, right? Defensive penalties have really equaled points for the offense, and offensive penalties have equaled punts or worse. And so let's figure out now why. What's going on within this play that you committed a penalty, and how do we attack that and fix it? And the majority of them are fundamentals, right? If my footwork is bad, if I'm an offensive lineman, it put me in a bad situation. Now I'm holding a defensive lineman or Jaden Mickey, hey, you can't grab at the top of the route, and because they found it and they called it. Riley, you got to be smart. You're one step away from the quarterback. That's too much, so that's more, hey, understand you can't touch the quarterback right there. We got to protect him, and some are just aggressive, man. Like the Burnham one, I really don't believe that he knew who he was hitting. He's playing relentless. He's turning. Coach, you say play through the whistle.
You can live with that.
Yeah,
is what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, some of them you have to live with, but what we got to do is if it's a fundamental issue, then we have to correct it and really teach from it and address it in practice.
So what you're saying is not all penalties are created equal. Some are worse. Some are worse than others.
The worst is a selfish penalty, right? And that's what I've told our team, is that nobody, including the head coach, is worth 15 yards. Selfish penalties will kill football teams.
What is a selfish penalty? I mean, obviously, I would think of like taunting, helmet coming off, whatever. So what are those things that are selfish penalties?
As you said, personal fouls, like late hits. If a quarterback is getting ready to slide, you hit him going out of bounds, head coach getting a penalty thrown on him for yelling at a ref or something like that. Those are selfish penalties. Aggressive penalties, they happen, right? Fundamental issues that we have to fix, those things happen in the game of football. That's why they call us coach. We got to address it and fix it.
This is off the wall here, but I've been saving this question for a while. We were talking about our shoes before we came on here. I don't even know brands or anything like that. I'm mostly interested in, you have a job that consumes you, I know. You've gotten questions, I think, the last couple of weeks about your blazer at the press conference. So when I leave my house, I'm colorblind. Yeah. I go to my wife. I just say, hey, am I good here? I don't have purple and blue and it's all mixed up. How do you get dressed? Like, is it all you? You're handling it yourself? You got someone helping you out? How does this all work?
Sometimes I'll pick it out. Okay. I got a wife that is, she helps me out a lot.
That's huge.
If my wife says you should wear this, then I take her opinion.
Yeah.
Where, Katie's going to get mad. I mentioned her, Katie Lonergan, who's, our associate AD for communications. She's my right-hand woman, and so she helps me out sometimes with suggestions. And so it takes a community. It takes a village,
It takes a village to dress the head coach.
Yeah.
You got multiple lines of defense, which sounds good, because I sometimes leave the house and I look like just a rainbow flag. It's not good with all the different colors I can mix and match. I'll get you out of here on just this week. I'm not trying to build it up too much, but I kind of am. Like I've been looking.
All right.
I've been looking forward to this game. I'm not playing in it for a year. It's just game day is going to be here. It's a huge game. It's a huge opportunity. I imagine, and I think coaches say this a lot, like you'll look back at this game, probably regardless of the result, hopefully it's a good result, and reflect on it at some point. I need to live in the moment now. But do you take a moment throughout the week? Is there any point where you'll let yourself think, like, I'm going to run Notre Dame out of the tunnel to play my alma mater in prime time with College game day here? That's like a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Will you let that sink in at any point this week, or will it have to be later?
I mean, I think you have to appreciate the opportunity, right? And as I'll tell the team, like, because of their work, we're able to play in a primetime game with College game day here, and they've earned this right. You have to earn the right to have a primetime College game day game, and our players and our coaching staff has earned that right. So be appreciative of that, right? Be appreciative of that. Be grateful for it. Now, we want to make sure we have success, right? We want to make sure we perform well. So how do we do that? And that's when we got to continue to remind ourselves. We're appreciative of this opportunity. We want to perform well. Now let's do the things that it's going to take to perform well.
I can't wait. I can't wait to talk to you next week after it, but I hope you get a chance to enjoy it and have a great Saturday night, Coach. Always fun to talk to you.
Absolutely, man.
All right, we're going to bring Marist in here in a second.
All right.
We were talking about you being from Hawaii, and you went to Hawaii this past year. I guess I don't know what island or where you were, but did you give him any recommendations for where he should visit? Was it not in your purview? How did that all go down?
He didn't want to come back.
He doesn't want to come back?
So, funny story. I'm at a luau, right, with my family, and I take a video, and I sent it to Marist, and I said, hey, look, and he said, I want to make sure I'm pro. He was like, that's exactly why I'm in the States playing football, because he was like, I don't want to be dancing for you, right, if you're over here vacationing. And it was so funny, but my kids, what we did, we went to luau, all they did was they got the fake tattoos, and they kept walking around like, I'm Marist, send them a picture. And so they loved it. We had a blast, man.
I texted him back, I said, that's why I'm here playing, because I don't want to dance for you tourists. I was laughing.
How often do you get back home? I assume over the summer, but it's a long flight. How often are you back there?
Probably I think twice a year.
Okay.
It's around bowl game time and then summer. Yeah,
okay.
That's about it.
As the head coach that was a linebacker, do you look at the linebackers a little bit differently? Do you talk to them differently because that's a position group you understand? Just what's the communication? He's nodding. He's saying you too. But what's that like?
Well, people don't realize they were my position group when I first got here. And so every day I was with them and I was coaching them. And that is the greatest bond. Like, I miss that more than any. People say, what do you miss about being a head coach? I said, I miss being in the room with those guys. But it's Marist, it's Jack Kiser, it's JD Bertrand, some of those guys that I actually got to coach and be their coach. Those are the guys you probably have a close relationship. So you are going to be hard on them, right? Because they know how to take it, because we spent so much time together. So I'm always watching them. 2, I'm always hard on them. But 3, they know how to take it. It's like, that's just coach being coach.
Did you think he's harder on you guys?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
How so? He's just on you guys quicker?
Yeah, he's always watching us.
They just have to stand out in the film differently, right?
I'll see him out the corner of my eye watching us, even though he's like obviously in charge of the whole practice. He always has his eye on us.
It's like it always happens. Like,
yeah,
I try to watch other positions.
Yeah, I'll mess up and he'll know. Like,
That's
right. He'll call me out on it.
If he wouldn't mess up, I wouldn't yell at him. You know what I mean?
But I feel like it'll be different. If someone else messed up, you wouldn't know. I have no idea. Maybe a receiver messed up, he probably wouldn't have no idea.
No.
Just let it go.
Yeah, I'll see it on film. Hey, Stuck, did he mess up there? Okay, good. So, but Marist, those linebackers, I can watch everything they do and say, okay, come here.
I know. I'll look at him and sometimes just give me that look, and I was like, I know, I got you.
I'm curious about your injury, man. You came back last year after being away for a year, and then you've really looked like a different guy even this year. Just what's that process been like? I've heard you talk about it in press conferences just to see the way he kind of moves around the field. But how have you felt? I want to start with you. Do you feel like you're all the way back this year and the guy you thought you'd be?
Yeah, I feel like I'm all the way back. I mean, I don't make any excuses for myself. I think my preparation and just attention to detail this year is what has made me play better. But yeah.
You've seen that. What have you seen this year from him?
Yeah. He plays the game so physical. I think back to when I first got here and I was watching 2020 film and the way he flies around, he's hitting people, and then for him to break his leg, and it was the last full contact day of fall camp. And to see where he's at now, it's just a lot of hard work, and he really has stepped his game. And I've challenged him, the preparation, we know you're naturally gifted, right? He's naturally athletic, he's naturally physical, but the preparation is going to be that final piece to get him to be elite. And I've seen him take a major step up in that area.
What's the maybe one thing that you guys have leaned on this year defensively? I'll ask both you guys. 12 points in 4 games. Just what are you happy with? What are you hoping to maybe clean up going into next week?
I think I'm happy with the way we respond to different situations. I think we just go out there and play. We don't care what the situation is, really, because there's always a standard of play like that,
right,
where we hold ourselves to. So I think just for us to respond to anything, I think I'm proud of that, most of all. But I think moving forward, just being more disciplined, just being able to play as a unit and have leadership on the field from more guys, I think that's going to elevate our game.
For me, we have a saying that clarity equals
velocity,
right? Clarity equals velocity. Yeah. And as you watch our defense play, they're playing really fast.
Okay.
And you're talking about year 2 in the same system.
Yeah.
So now these guys know what to do, how to do it, and why they're doing it. And they're playing so much faster. So it's really, we got great leadership from Coach Golden on down to these guys. And it's been really impressive to watch.
With Marist, what excites you about his future, whether it's on the field, off the field? He's a leader for you guys, but what are you looking forward to Marist Liufau when his time here is done?
Yeah, man, he's such a a great person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love about him, the most is that he's a great person. He's going to be a great husband and a great father. And so that's what I'm most proud of about him. He's going to play this game of football as long as his body lets him.
Yeah.
Now he plays really violent. So his body sometimes going to say, hey, man, slow down a little bit, but that's what I'm most excited, man. He's got his degree. He's a committed person in life and in the game of football.
Yeah. Last one for you, Marist. Next time he and the family go to Hawaii, what's the one thing they got to make sure they do?
They have to. What'd you guys do when you guys?
We did Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
A couple of us, but we did the tourist stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give us a deep cut, something that they wouldn't know. They got to see some experience.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to your house. I want to get some.
Yeah,
some
I think just
Hawaiian
like
food. Yeah.
Just having like a laid back like barbecue on the beach.
Okay.
But with like
authentic,
like the family.
Yeah.
That's like what we do all the time.
Yeah.
And like having like the food that we make, like marinate overnight and like throw it on the grill. I think that just having like a day at the beach.
Yeah.
You can't do that in South Bend.
No.
South Bend's got Notre Dame football, but doesn't have the backyard barbecue.
Yeah. No, it sure doesn't, man. Yeah. It sure doesn't.
There is a sponsor for this segment. Did you know that? We're sponsored by YETI. You guys have any Yetis? Cool. Yeah. I don't have a free YETI for you, but we're sponsored by YETI.
Okay.
Cool.
But this segment features the coldest moment, sponsored by YETI. So I have a question for each of you about the other person. I want you to think about your respective careers and tell me what the coldest moment of the other person's career was. So it could be a hit, tackle, takeaway. It could be a locker room speech. I don't know what comes to mind, but when you think of Marist and his career, Jack, what's his coldest moment?
Coldest moment. I would have to say, like I remember in the whole game, turning on the film against Clemson last year. Like Marist was everywhere, played really good, and you can just see that hair like flowing out of the back of the helmet. Like that's just something like is imprinted in my head. Like Marist was killing the counter. Like guys didn't want to mess with him, and so like it's just that type of play style that you think of the coldest moment.
Yeah, when he's running around, you can't miss him. Right?
Yeah. I mean that hair is just Troy Polamalu-ish.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
What about you? What's Jack's coldest? You got it? Okay.
I got it right away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack's coldest moment was, this was when I was hurt. I think it was a Shamrock Series game in Chicago against Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the sideline. I remember Jack's pick six.
Pick six.
Yeah, he like dropped in like zone coverage, and he saw like, what was it? It was something like an out route. He just read it.
China.
Yeah. He broke on it and he just took it to the house. So
that was a crazy game because it was close, and then all of a sudden you look up and you guys were blowing out Wisconsin. Is that one of the? I mean, you have a lot of good moments here, but does that one kind of come to mind towards the top of the games you guys have played here?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you think of the setting too, like in Chicago, if you remember the stadium, like there was a decent amount of Wisconsin fans there. Like the whole half of the stadium was almost red, and so it was a close game, right? And then all of a sudden we just took off.
Yeah.
And it was really fun, and it seemed like defensively everything came together at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then Chris Tyree obviously had the kickoff return for a touchdown that sparked everything. The student section was awesome. And then we got home early because it was a 11 a.m. kickoff in Chicago, which was awesome. We love noon games.
Yeah, I get to celebrate with everybody back here. It must be nice. This week, big game, right? I'm sure you guys are trying to stay in the moment, not make it bigger than it is, but you get a chance to play Ohio State. Just what's the excitement level like? What are you looking forward to most about this weekend? I'll start with you, Marist.
I try to stay like pretty level throughout the week. I'm obviously really excited. I know they're a great team coming in. Playing them at home is a great opportunity. It's going to be an electric atmosphere for us. So first night game, all green.
Ooh, yeah. You guys excited for the green?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't put it on yet or seen it, but excited for it.
Mm-hmm.
The all green will be something. We'll see.
Something I love about college football is it brings a lot of different people together, right? All different backgrounds. Think about the two of you, right? You're Indiana, born and raised, right?
Yep.
Just down the street. You probably dreamed of playing here your whole life. And you're from how many miles away? 4,000, 5,000? What is it?
No idea.
No idea. It's a lot, though, right?
A lot.
Yeah, Hawaii. Same school as Manti, right? Is that where you went? So I want, for those that maybe don't know a ton about your story, just describe your background growing up and when you first thought you wanted to come to Notre Dame. I'll start with you because I imagine when you grew up here, you knew you wanted to go to Notre Dame, or what was that like?
Yeah, so, I mean, like you said, I grew up an hour and 15 minutes away, in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by cornfields. Played at small school, like triple option, wing T style, was a quarterback, safety on defense, like did everything. Always wanted to play, college football. But the thing that was unique is no one in my community had ever really been to Notre Dame or gone to Notre Dame. Okay. And so it just wasn't really that prevalent just because it didn't seem attainable. So most people went to the ag school at Purdue or IU for medicine or whatnot, right? And it was type that thing like, oh, you would watch the Notre Dame game because it was on NBC and it was always primetime.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the day, it's like, oh, like good for them, they won, like, but you weren't like a diehard fan just because you really didn't have that connection.
Yeah.
And so when I started getting recruited to other schools, my dad said, hey, why don't we just go up to Notre Dame for a quick game? Like, you've never been to a game. Like, I think you'll really like it. So we came to the Miami of Ohio game, loved the atmosphere, got to see the tunnel, fell in love with the tradition. Then came back the next week for the Georgia game. And it was a night game in 2017.
Great game except for the result.
But that's when I fell in love.
Yeah.
Like with the atmosphere, with the fans, with the guys in the locker room. Like I was like, man, if I get a chance to play for them one day, like that would be something special.
Yeah.
And so it's really crazy because never in my life would I thought growing up, oh, I'm going to play for Notre Dame. And then here I am. So yeah.
Was it for you? Was it seeing Manti here, or what was the process like when you knew you wanted to come here?
Yeah, seeing Manti was a big part of me knowing what Notre Dame was. I didn't really know what it was until high school.
Yeah.
And then when they came into my recruiting process, it was a no-brainer for me. It was my best opportunity. Yeah. And so my parents, obviously I talked with my parents and they wanted me to come here, and we just thought it was the best decision. And I know it was far, but it was going to be worth it. And I don't regret my decision at all.
How you guys liking your fifth year on campus? Is it good? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the season's been off to a great start, which always
that helps.
Yeah, it helps a lot.
Yeah. My class schedule is nice.
Yeah. That's the other thing. It's more so all right, it's about time you're a football player versus being, you're an athlete versus being a student athlete.
Yeah.
So
I think it was maybe Josh Lugg, who I was talking to a couple years ago. He kind of said the same thing. He was just once you were done with your degree and you had that semester that was just football, you kind of got the idea of what it might be like to be a pro, right? Or at least as close as you can. Is that what you guys have felt this year? You can really lock into football differently?
Yeah, I mean, there's different stuff you can do. And the biggest thing for me is getting down the routine. Just getting a better routine, making sure your nutrition's where it needs to be.
You found that to be the same for you, Marist? You got more time to just lock into football and get your nutrition right, or what?
Yeah, for sure. For me, I have so much more time compared to previous years. When it comes to school and stuff like that, I'm able to watch so much more film and get into our playbook a lot more. But, yeah.
And another thing is in class, you can choose classes that are kind of interesting, not be pressured in just because you're in a particular major or something.
Right.
So I'm taking a real estate class,
but
then I'm also taking an obesity class.
Oh.
And then also taking a sports management class, something that doesn't really fall in line with my major at all. Yeah. But
what do you
now that I'm just interested in it?
What is the obesity class?
It's an anthropology of obesity.
Interesting.
So just basically how the body has evolved, why in some cases do certain populations carry more body fat than other? What is the obesity pandemic kind of what's causing it? What's going on in America right now? A lot of interesting stuff. And as an athlete, I'm pulling stuff away. I mean, we're talking all about different types of fats that can do different things in different situations, and so it's just really eye-opening of what's out there.
Did you guys realize when you came here how much you learned just by being a college athlete about nutrition and like how much they drill you on like what you should put in and how it affects your body. Like over the 5 years, I'm assuming you guys have both learned a ton about how certain foods affect your body, right?
Mm-hmm. For sure. I mean, I had no idea about nutrition prior to college. So it's coming in, just when like our dietitians and all that, they talk about our nutrition and how important it is for us to be able to perform at a high level. It's crazy. Just every little thing matters.
What's a food you used to eat that you don't eat anymore now that you've learned about what it does to your body?
I'm gonna be honest, I still eat the bad food. Yeah, but I just like limit it.
Okay.
So I don't eat it as much. So,
what do you limit then?
Like fried foods,
okay.
like fried chicken, French fries, all that stuff.
Tastes good though.
Yeah,
it's funny. Like,
I can't give it up.
Yeah, you can't give it up.
I had no idea really what that nutrition avenue kind of looked like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, growing up on a farm, it was meat and taters, like every day, glass of milk in the morning.
Yeah,
like, thought I had everything taken care of. Then you get here and there's a lot more into it that you need to focus on. Processed foods, like versus natural, like organic foods. Like it's a big deal.
It's crazy. The one of the things I wanted to ask you guys coming in here, you guys came in 19, right? Was your first year on campus? So you had COVID, you've had a coaching change, you guys have played some big time games. A lot's happened. Like, have you guys had a chance? I know you guys are in the thick of it right now. I'll start with you, Marist, but like, have you had a chance to think about all the different stuff you guys have gone through to kind of get to where you are now and like what your Notre Dame experience has really been like? Because you guys have been through a ton in your 4.5 years here.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll sit down and just reflect on it, but haven't really like dove into it. It feels like time. Like I think college goes a lot faster than high school for some reason. And I feel like just yesterday I was a sophomore and I haven't really like thought about how much has like gone into this process to lead me to where I am right now.
What about you, Jack?
I mean, I think it's just been crazy how much change has occurred.
Yeah.
Yet there's so much that's stayed the same.
Yeah.
Right. The day to day is still the same. Like we still have workouts and meetings and football practice and classroom responsibilities. But then you look around and you look at the people you're doing it with, and out of the 25 guys in our class, there's 9 of us left or 8 of us left
that came in. Yeah.
Yeah. So that half your class is gone, more than half the class. We've had 3 different DCs.
Yep.
We've 2 head coaches, a college football season where there was no fans. Like it was a lot that's kind of gone in through this journey, but at the same time, it's still like we're in the thick of it, and it's gone fast, and a blink of an eye goes by. So it's pretty crazy.
I was looking back. This is how I feel old. I remember when you guys came in, like your first year I was working here. I went back and watched the recruiting video announcements. the Fight Club with the boxing. And I was looking at you guys like, dang, these guys look different. You guys tiny. Yes. Do you ever go back and watch that and think, dang, I put on some good muscle since then? What do you guys look?
I know, like my first weigh-in at the Goog, I weighed 196 pounds.
Oh.
And
where are you at now?
I'm at 230, 232 consistently. And
yeah.
So like, it's just crazy. Like just the physical difference that you can see.
Yeah. I remember I actually edited your video.
Really?
Case, yeah. If you want to thank me, that's
you did
fine.
a good job.
All right, thanks. Yeah, good. Those were cool. quite the project when we were putting those out back then. I want to ask you about being a linebacker. That was one thing I was curious about too. Is you got a head coach that's a linebacker. Just to the best of your ability, explain to me, someone that never played football, what it means to be a linebacker.
Well, I think there's a standard at Notre Dame, and you look at great linebacker play, like it's been set.
Yeah.
And then you have Coach Freeman, who was a really good linebacker himself, like at the helm of the program now. And so like there's a standard of leadership qualities that it takes to be a linebacker here. But then like playmaking ability and the ability to control the defense and run the defense in a commanding way. I don't know what you think.
I agree. I feel like at Notre Dame, being a linebacker, you have to be the leader of the defense, like position wise. And you have to know everything. You have to know your job. You have to know what's going on around you. And with that takes a lot of time and like responsibility. And so like we expect highly of the other linebackers, like Jack and JD.
Yeah.
Obviously older guys who have great routines in their lives. They got their stuff together. Like we expect the same from the younger guys and trying to bring them along.
What have you guys done now that you're older? Like we just talked about how fast it goes. You guys were young and had those older guys telling you what to do. What do you guys do now with the young guys trying to set them up for when you're gone, or even try to fill in, of course, like last week? Like, what do you guys do? How do you communicate with the young guys to get them to the spot they need to be able to perform, whether it's this year or going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it you kind of have to figure out on your own, right? You kind of have to go through the dog days in the winter when it's tough, waking up at 6 a.m. and just that building that mental toughness on your own. But the other thing is, which I think the freshman class has done great right now, is like be a magnet, right? Just stick to someone who does it right, and then do everything they're doing. And whether that's in conditioning, you line up right next to the guy that you want to compete with one day and you're going to try to stay on his hip, or if it's in the film room, if someone else is in there, you're going to be in there getting the same coaching tips and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just the advice I've always had for them, is be a magnet, and find someone who does it the right way and try to, replicate that.
Is there a certain young linebacker that you find yourself, or he finds himself gravitating towards you, Marist, that you're trying to kind of help come along here?
I talk a lot to like Drake Bowen and Preston Zinner.
Yeah.
Those two, I think they ask me the most questions, like out of the young guys, which is
good questions.
And I tell them, I encourage all of them to ask me questions. Like I try to be an outlet for them, because I feel comfortable in the defense going into my second year. With Coach Golden. So I just tell them, ask me anything. I don't care what it is. No matter how silly you might think it is, like just ask me whatever you want. And those two ask me a lot of questions. Yeah,
that's good though. Better than not asking the questions and falling behind, right?
And that's one thing. Like when we were freshmen, like we had a great group of older guys. Wu, Drew White, Asmar. Like they really made us feel comfortable in the room. And that's half the battle, is just making the young guys feel comfortable where they can speak up and ask those questions. If they just don't know what's going on, like ask. We can help. Like we've been through that. So.
Coach Freeman, you guys have seen him. You had him as a DC, right, for that year, and then he made the transition. He's in his second year. I get to talk to him every week, and it's fun. He's a great guy to talk to, but you guys' relationship's obviously different with him. Just what have you enjoyed about him as a DC, as a head coach? You've known him now for a couple years. When you think of Coach Freeman, what do you really appreciate about him? Start with you.
I just think, he looks at us more than just his players. Like there's a different type of relationship there. And he shows that on a daily basis, whether we're changing the schedule because it fits the players better, or giving us first-class seats, or whatever the case might be. Like he makes sure that, his actions back up his words, and that means a lot. As far as like how the relationship has changed since being LB coach, now head coach, I would say he favors the offense a lot more in practice. Like it's not even close. The spot is always terrible.
Oh no!
But
you got to take the whistle away from him. Is what you're saying?
He still. The funny thing is, he still challenges us on a daily basis to be the best we can be, to choose hard and win every moment. So yeah.
What about you?
I think just Coach Freeman's genuine personality, who he is as a person outside of the Goog. I know that he makes an effort to get to know the people around him who work around him. He doesn't just look past someone like he walks by, or just he makes sure to really know the place that he works in and who's really making everything work around the Goog and to support our team.
Yeah, he's really embraced the university.
Yeah.
And whether that's during training camp, forcing everybody, every team meeting, we're going to start off with the fight song until the whole team knows the fight song.
Yeah.
Which, there's been times in the locker room, it's you can hear it, but it's not super strong, versus now, no one's mumbling.
Right.
I feel like that's important.
Yeah.
It's little things like that, making sure we know who the cafeteria staff is, the managers on the team, knowing them by name. I don't know. He really embraces the culture of the university.
He makes sure we have pride in our school.
Yeah.
He knows what make sure we know what our school is about and who we play for, really,
and why we're different.
Yeah. One of the topics I was going to ask you guys about, you kind of led me to, was the different teams supporting each other across campus. I see Coach Freeman at all kinds of sporting events. I've seen him with other coaches. He's very involved. I know you guys try to support other teams. Who are the teams you guys are tight with, and why do you guys try to show that support when you can, when you're not in the thick of your season?
I have some really good friends on the lacrosse team.
Okay.
I used to go to a lot of baseball back when JD's brother was on the team.
Right.
It was always fun. And then women's basketball, shout out to them. This past season, I went to a couple games, and it was really fun.
Yeah.
So my girlfriend's Sonia Citron.
Mm-hmm.
She's on the basketball team. So, I love watching her play. It's just so fun. Coach Freeman comes out to a lot of the games, and then I'll see Coach Parker bring his family. O'Leary will be out there sometimes, and I just really got really into that women's basketball. They're a great program. Every year
every year.
Yeah,
Sonya's pretty good too. Yeah, she knows what she's doing out there.
Yeah, I beat her in 1v1 though.
Oh, no way. There's no chance.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I was gonna say there'd be breaking news out here.
Yeah.
You guys ever been anywhere where college game day's been during the week? Ever been on a campus when college game days come into town or no?
I mean, they've been here. Then
besides here, yeah.
Last time they were here was 2018 Michigan, right? So it'd have been right before.
No.
They came to Clemson, right?
Clemson, yeah.
Oh, they were here for Clemson?
COVID Clemson.
They were in the stadium?
Yeah, COVID Clemson. And then we were at Georgia in 2019.
At Georgia,
our freshman year.
So what was it like when you're at Georgia with all that attention?
It was
crazy.
Like it was awesome to be a part of.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we didn't win, but like you dream of playing stages like that, right? Like we're driving in, you see the game day stage over there, and there's just so many people like surrounded in campus. It was a night game, like at Georgia. It was the biggest stage you could be on.
Yeah.
And as a competitor, like I want to be on that stage any given Saturday.
Yeah, that was my first game starting. I started on special teams, against Georgia, and I just remember we couldn't hear each other like standing this close.
It was so loud.
I've heard that one was crazy. I mean, there's you guys played some great venues, but like down there between the hedges, it's about as loud as it gets, right?
And both teams were like had studs on them.
Yeah.
And that just made it such a bigger game. Like it was awesome.
When you guys are done here, what are you going to miss most about playing at Notre Dame? I asked this question to guys that are towards the end, or that guy. I'm going to talk to Brady Quinn later. I'm going to ask him. I talked to Mike Golick Jr. He said he misses running out of the tunnel the most. Just what, as you go through this year, are you trying to make sure you appreciate before it's gone?
You want to go first?
I just think maybe like it has to do something with the locker room atmosphere, right? Whether that's, walking on the player walk, like with the guys through the fans, or it's after the game in the locker room, or it's, before a mat drill workout Wednesday morning in the middle of January. Like it's just being with the guys in the locker room, like motivating each other, like knowing that you're going through it together. You can share in that like pain and suffering, but also that success and happiness. So just, I guess that atmosphere, it's very rare in life. You can get a room full of 100 and some dudes to come together for a common goal and then be able to, help each other achieve it.
How about you?
I think something will like come up later, but I think the first thing that comes to mind is just being able to represent Notre Dame. I know that obviously we'll never get the chance again to represent, put on the gold helmet, put on a Notre Dame jersey, and to go out there and play for Notre Dame. I think that's what I'm going to miss the most. I think I'll be watching games for the rest of my life and wanting to be suited up with them.
I just want the last question to be kind of about what you guys hope to accomplish this year. It can be football, it can be not football. When you reflect on 2023, when you look back at it, what will success look like to you? What do you hope to get done, Jack?
I think Coach Freeman's message this whole year since training camp has been to reach our full potential on a daily basis, every game and throughout the season. And if you think about it, like, what is our full potential? Like, who knows? But if we can reach it, it's going to be special.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think that goes in forth of like wins and losses, our full potential in our relationships as a team, like coming together as a unit. But also like just in the grand scheme of things, like doing the best we can and knowing that will lead to success.
I think there's always those big goals. For me, I just want to look back and like think about every day and make sure like I made every day an opportunity to get better. And I made sure to improve, and I at least tried to improve. Obviously, results are results, but at least every day I know I'm working to get better. That's my personal goal.
All right. Well, good luck this week. You guys have been fun to watch. Keep it up. We're going to take a break, but we're going to come right back after this.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay. We are now joined by somebody that does not need an introduction, but I'll give one anyway. Brady Quinn, former Notre Dame quarterback, current Fox Sports college football analyst. Thanks for joining us on Wake Up the Echoes. I have a million things I could ask you, but I think let's just start with some X's and O's and talk Notre Dame, because This is about as good as it gets, Brady, and we'll get to some of the games you played in. 4 games into the season, they've got Ohio State coming in. Just through the first 4 games, what have you seen from Notre Dame? How impressed are you, and how good can this team be?
Yeah, well, first off, Tony, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. I feel like this has kind of been a long time coming. First 4 games, I'll start off by just talking about being over in Ireland on the field and really seeing the team. And it wasn't so much about the opponent who they're going up against. To me, it was just like passing the eye test. I'm fortunate enough to work in a job where we travel throughout the country. You can see some of the best teams in college football. And the one thing that you can always say is you can tell right away if a team doesn't have the depth, doesn't have that, like pass that eye test. As far as when they get off the bus, do they look the part? Notre Dame looks the part. This is the most physically impressive team I have seen, like during my lifetime. Now, granted, I wasn't there in the 1988 national championship team or early off in the 90s, but as far as the teams that I was a part of in Notre Dame since those, through those years, this is the most physically impressive team. They're big, they're deep, their skill positions are fast, they're long, they're athletic. There's so many things where you kind of go out there and look for the way they move, the way they look, the depth that they have behind the position. Notre Dame's got all of that. They can go up against anyone with that. And then obviously the biggest factor is Sam Hartman at quarterback. They've now got a quarterback who I think not only can be a good decision maker with all the experience being a 6-year quarterback, but it's the downfield passing game that opens up. It's the playmakers at the wide receiver position that, I think last year highlighting Michael Mayer was awesome in the run game, but now you've got all of that where you don't have Mayer, but you got the wide receivers, the passing game. Holden Stays has come along kind of as that next tight end. I think when you watch the impact he's had, the O-line, all those things, they've been there. So that was kind of like the last missing piece, if you will. And this team, I think through the first 4 games has proven themselves to be able to win in a variety of ways. And I love their chances this week. I love their chances the rest of the season. I said this after week 0, after they beat Navy, to our Big Noon Kickoff crew. I said, they're going to be a playoff team. Like that's how good I feel about where Notre Dame is right now. They obviously have to get through the schedule, which is a tough one. But the way things stack up right now, this is a playoff team in my eyes.
Help me understand then this week how they stack up against Ohio State. Ohio State's been playing games kind of at similar times, so I haven't seen as much film. I know it's your job to know how good Ohio State is and how they stack up. From my standpoint, at least in years past, I'd be really concerned about how Notre Dame maybe is able to match up in the secondary, but I think this is the best Notre Dame secondary that we've seen in a while. So from your vantage point, where do they stack up well against Ohio State? And if you're going into this game, where do you have to be on the lookout for maybe the Buckeyes to have a slight edge?
Yeah, so I think the areas of concern where you look at, like, hey, maybe where will Ohio State have a little advantage, or do they have more experienced players? Obviously, the wide receiver position is one when you've got a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka as well, Julian Fleming. There's a ton of speed, ton of playmakers. Carnell Tate is a very highly touted true freshman. You saw a little more bird time last week. You really can't afford to give up any big plays. Fortunately, Notre Dame's been extremely good and not giving up big plays this season. But, Ben Morrison, obviously Cam Hart, those guys, the entire secondary, those guys are going to be tested. And there's going to be times where you can't double up on Marvin Harrison Jr. You're going to have to be singled up on him, and you're going to have to live with that decision and live with those plays. The biggest thing from watching Ohio State, though, and we really, saw kind of this quarterback battle between Kyle McCord and Devin Brown play itself out. McCord ultimately is named starter, played his best football last week versus Western Kentucky, but it's been shaky at times. And, he's been a little inconsistent, especially versus pressure. The offensive line play has not been great. They had to replace both tackles. They kind of struggled there early on versus Indiana in Bloomington. They've showed some weaknesses there too. So the Notre Dame pass rush, I think, can get after it. Pressure can be one of those, I guess, trump cards in your back pocket if you want to try to bring it out versus Kyle McCord. Notre Dame's done a lot of that lately. So that's going to be interesting to see how that matchup plays out. It still starts with stopping the run, though. And that's where you can't afford to allow the pressure to be taken off of Kyle McCord by allowing them to have success in first, second down, allowing the running back stable of backs to get going. Mayan Williams is a load at running back. Travion Henderson's got to step on him. They've got a stable of backs, too, there at Ohio State. You got to be keyed in on. And then lastly, Cade Stover. He, to me, is the X factor for Ohio State on offense, and Notre Dame's really got to know where he's at. He's your traditional wide tight end. He's good at blocking at the point of attack, but he can stretch the field and make some plays down the field, in particular down in the red zone. So they're going to have to be good on him too. All the wide receivers get the attention. It's going to be Cade Stover that we got to be careful about too when talking about for Notre Dame's defense. And then on the flip side, Ohio State's very talented in their secondary as far as their ability to match up with wide receivers. Guys are going to have to make contested catches. Sam's going to have to get comfortable throwing to guys who aren't running wide open, like Tobias Merriweather last week or Chris Tyree last week. Like, that's not going to be the case. I have a hard time believing there's going to be blown coverages or guys are going to be able to blow by some of these athletes that Ohio State has in the secondary. And then the last thing I'd say is, as far as the protection goes, the interior of our offensive line in particular, our two guards, not as experienced, obviously, that's where Ohio State's really good. They're very good up front on the defensive line. That's a group that can get after it, can get pressure with four. Our offensive line is going to have to play our best game of football to date. I would argue they're really their best game all year long with the front that they're going up against. USC will test them as well later on this year, the way they look so far. But to me, Ohio State is probably the most physical, probably the best up front they're going to face this entire season.
I want to circle back to Sam and kind of ask the question from more of a big picture standpoint from what it means to be the Notre Dame quarterback and just how he's handled things so far this year. You pointed out how the receivers have stepped up. I think that's a product a little bit of Sam kind of maybe elevating everyone's play around him. Just in 4 games, and he's looked so sharp, he's handled everything. This will be his biggest test of the year. But help me understand kind of what it means to be the Notre Dame quarterback going into a big game and how impressed you've been with not only his performance, but his leadership in what's a really demanding position in all of college football.
I think the good thing for him is he already had 5 years, playing this elsewhere. And it wasn't like he wasn't on the national stage to a degree. I mean, he allowed Wake Forest to be competitive. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason why he was a target and a guy that, we all wanted to come to Notre Dame because of the success that he had during his time in the ACC playing at Wake. So I think that played a huge role in helping him transition into being the quarterback at Notre Dame, in part because of just his general maturity, the leadership skills that he built up over his time there at Wake, and also not like making that jump. I think when you look at a quarterback who comes from high school to then Notre Dame, or, I guess my experience and how I'd relate is it's a whole different animal. I mean, you're adapting to class and school and college and all these things that you have on your plate that you're trying to manage, let alone be in that national spotlight. So I think his experience, his age, his maturity, all those things have been a huge benefit to him. And being able to really just focus on football and at a point in time where that's all he really wants to do. So it's been awesome to watch him, the way he's handled it. He's kind of very gracefully stepped into a position. And I know it's only for a year's time, but I think he's done a good job embodying everything that you'd hope for out of a Notre Dame quarterback in the way he conducts himself. Obviously, the play on the field speaks for himself, but handling it all, handling the media, handling, being in the spotlight as a leader, and how he talks about his teammates, talks about the coaching staff. I really don't think you could ask for much more.
This is going to be a fun week because we can, I think, debate where this game and this matchup maybe rank all time in Notre Dame meetings. I'll go with my lifetime. I think back to 2005 as this having a chance to be the most meaningful game on this campus in 18 years. I think you could have made a case for Clemson a couple of years ago, but there were no fans in 2020, so I don't think it quite hit the same way. Georgia, it was maybe a little early in that Georgia run in 17, so I throw that out. I think it's the biggest game on campus in 18 years. What do you remember about that week leading up to the game? And if you could give a player advice or a coach advice for how to kind of manage the emotions and stay in the right mindset, what do you have to do? Because this is going to be a different week the way it feels around campus.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would argue that USC in a few weeks, when we win, when Notre Dame wins this
when
game,
they win, okay.
that will be the biggest since 2005. USC, I think, will be probably higher ranked at that point based on the games they will play. Obviously, Notre Dame will continue to improve in their ranking. So I think that will be the biggest, ironically enough, and it's 2005 was USC. It's once again here in 2023 USC. This one will be big, and I just think the feeling of it's a little bit different. I mean, back then in 2005, you had arguably one of the greatest dynasties in college football history. You had a team that had won 2 in a row, trying to win 3 in a row, multiple Heisman winners on their team, multiple first-round picks on their team. It was just a different animal, and we were at a point, in our first year with Charlie Weiss, where we felt like we had to execute and play a certain style in order to give ourselves a chance to win. And, as far as the hype leading up to it, I mean, it doesn't get much more hyped up going into that game. I mean, the campus was buzzing. just everything that week, the pep rallies, everything else. I mean, we had to move the pep rally to the stadium. It was so big, and that whole thing was filled half up with 40,000 people. It's just thinking back to that, it's hard to, put it into perspective only because of, how unique that the opponent was and the rivalry and the history behind it. But even that season for us being the first year with Charlie Weiss and there being so much unknown, coming off of what was a 500 year before after the bowl game, the firing of Ty Willingham, there were so many things that were unknown. And we really weren't sure until we beat Pitt on the road, top 25 ranked team. We beat Michigan at home, on the road at their place in the Big House, top 10 ranked team, I think, at that point. And it was like this momentum started to build. And so it was a little different where I feel like Notre Dame's at such a good place now based on how the last, 5-6 years have gone. And this is an Ohio State team that I think has some questions about them. They think they're the par. They think they can get back on top of the Big Ten. I'm not so sure. I think there's a lot of people who want to believe that are Buckeyes fans, but are doubting it right now.
You said when they win. I'll start using that terminology throughout the week. When they win this week, what do you think that will do for kind of the national perception of this Notre Dame team? I get the sense like everyone from a national standpoint is kind of this is the litmus test, right? It's kind of a wait and see. When they win, what will the takeaway be nationwide, and how will Notre Dame be viewed?
This is a legit college football playoff contender. And that's what I've said. I've always believed that. I've seen them up front, close and personal. I can tell you what Sam's bringing to the table as a quarterback, how that relates to what we already have in a running game, what we already have in a defense, and even a kicker for that matter, right? Like we've got a kicker we're going to rely on and trust in those big positions. So, I mean, people take it for granted all the time, but you go look at Kansas State getting upset by Missouri, like it comes down to a kick sometimes, like it did this past week. So I think it's going to change a little bit of the questions that the national narrative is about Notre Dame. Like, hey, they're really good, but they're not maybe in that top tier. It's like, no. This is a top tier team. Mm-hmm. Like this year, this is a top tier team. We're looking at Bama struggling, Clemson struggling. You look at some of these other teams out there, they don't look quite the same. And this is a big time opportunity, I think, for Notre Dame based on all the things that we have right now. So when we win, and that's how you got to talk to it, man. You got to speak it into, you got to manifest this, speak it into existence. But it's going to be a tough game. There's no doubt about it. But I think we match up extremely well. And again, Sam gives us a really good shot. I think if you're looking at the most experienced, most important position where you want to excel at, well, that's where we excel, especially in this matchup.
I'm going to ask you an off-the-wall question here, quick U-turn. When you were on campus, did you dine at the dining halls?
Of course.
Okay. This is a debate we're having with every former guest. Just speak your truth to me. Are you a North or a South dining hall guy?
South. Now, this is an easy answer for me because we had study hall right across from South Dining Hall. So I'd get done with practice. I'd always start watching film of that practice to kind of grade it myself and then look at the next day's cut-ups and things we had. And because this started when I was a freshman, and so I'm very habitual, as far as how I'd go about my routine. So because we had study hall kind of late, like I would rush, and South was the only one open. So I'd go in, grab some food quick, scarf that down, then rush into study hall. So I actually lived in Zom my first 2 years. So by way of like proximity, I would go to North Dining Hall a decent amount. I actually thought it was a little like nicer, like dining experience.
That's the point of the making here every week.
I frequented South Dining Hall more often. And that's kind of like where me and the fellows typically all posted up because of study hall. That was kind of ingrained in us. But now, like, again, I don't know. I haven't been back in a while, so I'd be curious to see if that opinion still holds.
North has been remodeled. I'm a North guy, but I'm currently being outscored here 2-1 amongst our guests now have voted for South. One more kind of off-the-wall question. This week, it's Notre Dame, Ohio State. Is that jersey going to make a return appearance anywhere around the Quinn family? Is it somewhere we can see? What's going to happen this week with that jersey?
No, I mean, that's the funny thing is like my sister will root for Notre Dame from here on out. AJ was the only reason she even rooted for Ohio State. Even in that instance, that I think going back on it, she probably wishes that she just would have worn a Notre Dame jersey at that point. But no, that thing was probably either, I don't know if it was like framed or where it was, but it's at my mom's house somewhere. But that will not be coming back out. That thing stays in there, and AJ and the rest of the Ohio State fan base can have that half their jersey.
Good to know. Last one I've got is I can just tell talking to you, you're still very passionate about Notre Dame and the football program. Just kind of put into words, not just what a win would mean, but just what it's meant to kind of see the way the program has progressed here under Marcus Freeman in his second year, and just what your weekends are like when you watch Notre Dame. What does it feel like the further you get removed from being quarterback? It doesn't seem like you're necessarily further removed emotionally from caring about how this program looks. What does Notre Dame football mean to you now?
When you sign to go to Notre Dame, you always talk about this 4 for 40. For me personally, it's always felt like a 4 for forever decision. In the sense of it echoes in the generations that you impact past you. And you don't realize it when you first go and you first get there, and between how tough the academics are and the schedule and obviously football and how tough the schedule is, playing there, you really don't have time to appreciate it and truly understand how big it is, how amazing it is. And I think the further you get away and the further you experience this world, you realize how special and how unique Notre Dame is. And so I think my love for it only grows fonder because, I see young people continually make that decision to go there. And even though they're growing up in an era of social media and, different smartphones and all that kind of stuff, like we didn't have any of that when I was in college. And you feel like sometimes you can't relate. Like I feel like I know to their core who they are. That's that common bond that you have with so many that went before you, that go after you. And so I think for that reason, like it's just that natural connection that I love. And it's one of the reasons why, I started a collective to help out Notre Dame athletics. It's one of the reasons why I have a foundation that works with, veterans that we host there in the summertime at Notre Dame. I think it's a special place. And I've always felt blessed to have the opportunity to go there. I wish we could have won a national championship. Didn't work out. I don't have any eligibility left. So my thing is I try to help out in whatever way I can to help get Notre Dame back in that position to do that. And so it's hard to put into words. It really is, because I think it's bigger than that. It's like a spiritual thing. And so I think you got to feel it. And usually when you're on campus there, everyone walks away feeling the spirit.
All right, Brady, it's time for our From the Irish segment where a listener submits a question. It's presented by TireRack.com. Here it is. It's from Noah in Jacksonville. Pretty straightforward question, but I think an interesting one. He says, whose hair is better when they were at Notre Dame? Brady Quinn's or Sam Hartman's? The floor is yours.
Well, his facial hair is definitely better because I could not grow a beard. So I will definitely give him the win on that. But he doesn't have the same flow bucket I have. So I'm sorry, man. Like I can't give him credit there, but I'll give him the win on the facial hair, no doubt. He looks like a mountain man. So that's a good look. It's a good look especially for a leader. I feel like there's some wisdom that comes along with that beard. And it makes him look a little older, but hell, I mean, he's a 6-year quarterback. It's like you're not going to find many 6-year players after this COVID eligibility runs out.
So you're willing to concede the facial hair, but not the lettuce on top.
No chance. No chance.
That's a good, confident answer. You know what? I'll side with you. I think Brady Quinn wins that the entire way. Brady Quinn, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate, obviously, everything you do for Notre Dame, but, of course, your coverage on Fox is great. Looking forward to, we'll say it, when they win this Saturday.
Yeah, that's right. When they win. So get ready for it. Beat the Buckeyes. Go Irish. Tony, thanks for having me on. It's been fun.
Talk to you later.